Have you ever trembled with anger just because of an accidental remark, a displeasing look, or an action that wounded your pride? Have you ever, after a fit of rage when everything has passed, felt an emptiness inside, a hollow feeling as if you had lost something precious within your heart? Anger, at first glance, seems like a fire that helps us defend what we believe is right. But in reality, it is a fire that consumes our very mind and body. First, the Buddha once taught that when a flame of anger arises, it burns down an entire forest of merits. A person prone to anger is like someone carrying a torch against the wind. Before they can burn anyone else, they themselves are scorched. In life, all of us have experienced moments of eruption, an insult, an injustice, a long-held grievance, and with just a slight touch of the flame, resentment flares up fiercely. At such times, we no longer see the person in front of us, nor hear the voice of our own heart. There's only heavy breathing and the impulse to react. But then, when the anger passes, we feel tired and regretful of the words we said and the things we did. Anger is like a storm, sweeping away all peace within us, leaving our mind like a lake disturbed by wind, unable to reflect anything clearly. The Buddha taught that anger is one of the three poisons: greed, anger, and ignorance, the root of all suffering. An angry person is no different from someone drinking poison and wishing for others to die first. Anger, ultimately, does not change others, but only harms our own mind and body. Modern science has also proven that when we are angry, our body releases toxins, causing our heart to race, blood pressure to rise, stomach to contract, and immune system to weaken. In Buddhism, each time we flare up in anger, our mind loses merit, like a drop of pure water falling into muddy sludge. Some people say, "I'm angry because I care. I'm angry because I'm right." But in that rightness, how much compassion is there? In that caring, how much understanding is there? When the heart still harbors the fire of anger, no matter how much you care, it will only make others afraid and distant. A practitioner who follows the Buddha's teachings is not someone who doesn't know anger, but someone who knows how to look at anger, to understand and transform it. Like a farmer who knows how to use fire to burn weeds, not letting it spread and scorch the entire field. When angry, try to pause, take a deep breath, and look at your own emotion as if looking at a burning flame. Recognize it without judgment, without immediately extinguishing it. just quietly observe and then ask, where does this anger come from? What is it burning within me? When we can clearly see the anger, that flame will gradually die down because it is no longer fueled by delusion. The Buddha taught that the person who can master their emotions is the greatest victor. For winning 1,000 armies in battle is not equal to conquering oneself. And today, through every word of Scripture, every silent breath, let us listen to the Buddha's teachings to learn how to resolve anger, so that we no longer become slaves to emotions, and instead cultivate a peaceful mind and a harmonious life. Because only when our heart is at peace will the world around us truly be calm. When our heart ceases to flare up, when anger no longer dominates, we will see a pure lotus bloom in our heart, quietly diffusing its fragrance. From that moment, the path of spiritual practice, the path of a virtuous life, will truly open up. There are moments in life when just because of a word or a small action, the fire within us flares up, making us forget all the beautiful things. Anger makes words heavy, eyes cold, and the heart turns into a flame. At such times, we often think we are right, that we are defending justice, but in reality, in the moment anger erupts, reason has abandoned us, leaving only instinct and ignorance to guide us. The Buddha called that state anger and hatred, one of the three poisons: greed, anger, and ignorance, the deepest roots of suffering. If greed makes people stubborn and ignorance makes people deluded, then anger burns away all the merits we have accumulated. The Buddha taught, a single flame of anger can burn down a mountain of merits. This means that just one surge of anger can consume an entire mountain of merits that we have painstakingly cultivated over many lifetimes. Anger, seen from the outside, is a human reaction to being hurt, insulted, or treated unjustly. But through the eyes of the Dharma, anger is the fire of ignorance in the mind, nourished by the ego, by self-attachment. When we think we are insulted, it's because we cling to an overly large image of I. When we think we are right and the other person is wrong, we forget that everything in life has its own causes, conditions, and consequences. A practitioner who follows the Buddha's teachings understands that anger never helps us resolve suffering, but only deepens karmic obstacles. Therefore, the Buddha advised practitioners and lay people alike to recognize and transform anger. Anger is not inherently bad because it is a natural emotion. But to let anger control our mind, causing our body, speech, and mind to create negative karma, that is a great mistake. In a Dharma talk, the Exalted One once told a parable. Anger is like someone carrying a torch against the wind. If they don't let go in time, that flame will burn the bearer themselves. Indeed, we get angry at someone, wishing them suffering. But in reality, we are the first to suffer. Anger causes the heart to race, breathing to quicken, the body to release toxins, and the mind to become chaotic, with a gloomy demeanor. Those who habitually live in anger, no matter how much wealth or status they have, cannot find true happiness. For happiness arises only when the mind is at peace, and an angry mind can never be at peace. The Buddha taught that the person who can master anger is truly wise, while the person who lets anger control them, no matter how talented, is merely foolish. Anger is an instinct, but letting it go is true courage. There is a truly moving story told in a village in Bin Din about Mr. Lam, a skilled carpenter. He was famous throughout the region for his craftsmanship, but everyone knew he had a hot temper. If an apprentice made even a small mistake, he would shout loudly, sometimes even throwing his tools to the ground. People feared him and kept their distance, even though everyone acknowledged his generous heart. One day, while he was working in his workshop, his young son, wanting to help his father, accidentally scratched a precious wooden plank that Mr. Lam had spent many days carving. Anger flared up like a raging fire. He shouted loudly, picked up a plane, and threw it forcefully to the ground. The plane bounced up and hit the boy's foot. His son's cry made him freeze, but his anger had not yet subsided. It wasn't until evening, when he saw his son curled up in pain, his foot bandaged, that his heart ached as if on fire. He sat silently, listening to the insects outside in the garden, and an overwhelming regret arose within him. For the first time in his life, he felt small, weak, and terrifying. He realized that he himself was being burned by the fire of anger that he had mistaken for strength. The next day, he went to the pagoda near his home. The abbot, seeing his distress, asked the reason. He recounted his story, his voice trembling, tears falling onto his hands. The monk meditated for a moment and then said, "Do you know, there's a saying in the sutras, a single flame of anger can burn down a mountain of merits. This means that one outburst of anger can burn away an entire forest of merits. An angry person is no different from someone holding fire in their hands and burning themselves. But if you can see the anger, recognize it, then you have already won half the battle." Mr. Lam was silent for a long time, then clasped his hands together. "I want to learn how not to get angry anymore." From that day on, every morning he woke early, went to the garden to breathe, and chanted the Buddha's name. Whenever someone annoyed him, he would gently close his eyes and silently say in his heart, "Namo Amitabha Buddha. Please help me see this anger." Gradually, he noticed he became less hot-tempered. His eyes softened. His voice became gentler. People said, "Since Mr. Lamb learned to cultivate his mind, his wood workshop feels like it has a benevolent aura. Everyone who comes feels at peace." Mr. Lamb's story is a small mirror for each of us. Anger can flare up in a second, but its consequences can last a lifetime. A word spoken in anger can cause others pain for many years. An action done in a fit of rage can create karma that we will have to repay later. But if we know how to stop, take a deep breath, and recognize the anger that is coming, we have saved ourselves from suffering. Anger cannot be dispelled by anger. Only understanding and compassion can dissolve resentment. The Buddha taught, "Hatred never ceases by hatred. By love alone does hatred cease." When we understand this, we realize that being angry with others is actually hurting ourselves. From a psychological perspective, anger is the mind's self-defense reaction to injury. But if we keep nurturing it, it will become a habit, and then karma. In Buddhism, every time we let anger take control, we are sowing seeds of suffering in our consciousness. When we encounter people or situations that upset us, remember that they are lessons that circumstances send us to learn tolerance. Instead of asking, "Why did they do that to me?" ask, "Why am I reacting this way?" Just by changing our perspective, anger will dissipate like smoke. A wise person is not someone who doesn't get angry, but someone who knows how to master anger with wisdom and compassion. One of the most effective practices to dissolve anger is mindful breathing. When anger arises, stop. Don't say anything. Don't do anything. Just breathe deeply and slowly exhale. The breath is a bridge that brings us back to the present moment. When we breathe mindfully, the mind calms down, and we will see that anger is just a passing dark cloud, not our true nature. The Buddha once said, "Just as rain falls on a leafy roof, anger falling on an awakened person will not cling." Practice observing your emotions like someone watching a river, seeing anger flow by, seeing your heart settle down. Only then can you truly master your mind. In addition to breathing, chanting the Buddha's name is also a miraculous method to help us transform anger. Whenever anger arises, just silently chant the Buddha's name. Namo Amitabha Buddha. That sacred sound is like cool water extinguishing the fire in the heart. One who chants the Buddha's name often will have a compassionate and gentle heart, because the Buddha's name carries the energy of compassion and wisdom. When our mind merges with that energy, anger no longer has a place to reside, just as clear water cannot contain fire. With prolonged practice, we will see ourselves change. The person who once annoyed us now makes us smile. The thing that once made us angry now feels like a gentle breeze passing by. This is not because the world has changed, but because our mind has become calmer and clearer. The Buddha once taught, "When the mind is pure, the Buddha realm is pure. When our heart is free from anger, the world around us naturally becomes peaceful." A person with a gentle mind, soft words, kind eyes, and a leisurely gait is someone living in mindfulness, sowing seeds of peace for themselves and others. And if you are hearing these words, please pause for a moment. Remember that every anger will pass, but only its consequences remain. The person who made you angry today might be gone tomorrow. The words that hurt you today might have been unintentional. But if you lose your inner peace, no one can give it back to you. Always take care of yourself by not letting anger take control. Look deeply at the person who annoys you to see that they too are suffering, struggling in ignorance. When you understand that, your heart will soften. And from there, anger will dissipate like morning mist. Anger is a fire that burns both the angry person and the person being angry. The one who knows how to stop has saved themselves from the karma of suffering. Remember the Buddha's teaching. The one who is not angry has the greatest power. This power does not need to be expressed externally, does not need argument or proof, just a tranquil breath. A compassionate smile is enough to resolve a lifetime of resentment. That is the path that leads us to peace, to ourselves. Have you ever wondered, when we are angry with someone, who is ultimately the first to suffer? Many people, in a fit of anger, often think they are teaching the other person a lesson. They believe anger is a way to vent their frustration, to prove that they are right and others are wrong. Yet, when the anger passes, they feel a weariness spread throughout their body, a deep void in their heart, and sometimes late tears. Anger, in truth, has never been strength. It is merely a fire that burns the one who holds it. The more we are angry, the more we lose our peace, lose our health, and even lose the joy of living. The Buddha taught that when a person harbors anger, they are like someone holding a burning coal, waiting to throw it at another. But before they can throw it, their own hand is already burned. In the Anguttara Nikaya, the Exalted One taught, "Whoever is angry harms themselves. They cause suffering to themselves." Anger causes mental unrest, physical illness, and loss of blessings. An angry mind is not only a fire that burns away merits, but also a cause for countless negative karmas. People prone to anger often encounter many unfavorable circumstances because the energy of anger clouds their minds. Their words are harsh, their actions violent, and from that, unwholesome karmic consequences follow one after another. Many people don't understand, thinking that getting angry at others makes them suffer. But in reality, every time we flare up, we are dragging ourselves into a hell of emotions, a hell right within our hearts. Modern science has also proven what the Buddha saw over 2,000 years ago. When we are angry, our heart beats faster, blood pressure rises, breathing quickens, and the body releases stress hormones that thicken the blood, easily leading to strokes, heart attacks, and many other chronic diseases. Prolonged anger not only makes us tired, but also weakens the immune system, making illnesses more likely to arise. Scientists call this chronic emotional stress syndrome. In Buddhism, it is the consequence of an angry mind. When anger arises, that energy not only harms the body, but also clouds the mind. We no longer see the truth, no longer distinguish right from wrong. We only want revenge. We want to win. It is in that very moment that karma arises. A harsh word, a hateful look, a thoughtless action, all are seeds sown in the garden of the mind, and their fruits will return sooner or later. Anger is also like an iron lock in our hands, tightly closing the door of our heart. We think we are punishing others, but in reality, we are imprisoning ourselves in a jail we ourselves have built. An angry mind is a mind without freedom. When we are angry, we no longer hear the voice of compassion, no longer see the beauty of life. Everything before our eyes becomes distorted and unpleasant. An angry person cannot genuinely smile, cannot sleep soundly, cannot love completely. Some people are angry with each other for days, some for years, even a lifetime, carrying a wound they refuse to let go of, unaware that the wound grows deeper because they scratch at it every time they remember. The Buddha once said, "Anger is like drinking poison and wishing for others to die." Those words might seem harsh, but they are the truth of human existence. There is a woman named Mai, now over 58 years old. She lives in a small market in central Vietnam, selling goods for over 20 years. Everyone in the market knew Mrs. Mai had a hot temper, and spoke bluntly, but also had a good heart. It was just that whenever someone haggled too much or accidentally bumped into her stall, she would explode, scolding them relentlessly. People feared her. Few dared to argue. But deep down, everyone felt sorry for her. One morning, just as dawn was breaking, a young customer came to buy vegetables. The customer said the price was a bit high and tried to bargain down a few thousand dong. Hearing this, Mrs. Mai got angry, her voice rising sharply and harshly. The argument lasted only a few minutes, but immediately after, she clutched her chest, her face pale, and collapsed in the middle of the market. Everyone rushed her to the emergency room. Fortunately, she was saved in time. When she regained consciousness in the hospital, the doctor said something that she would never forget. "You didn't die from illness. You nearly died from anger." That sentence was like an awakening bell. For the first time in her life, Mrs. Mai lay quietly in bed, not speaking, not thinking, just listening to her own heartbeat. She realized that for years she had let anger lead her, without knowing it was slowly killing her health and happiness. After being discharged, she went to a temple near her home. Hearing the evening temple bell chime, she suddenly burst into tears. The abbess gently said, "Anger is suffering. Letting go is joy. When you are angry, you are hurting yourself. Learn to breathe. Learn to look at people with compassion." From that day, every morning, Mrs. Mai would sit on her porch, breathing along with the temple bells. She practiced smiling, speaking softly, and not reacting immediately when someone went against her wishes. Gradually, people in the market saw a change in her. She spoke less, but her eyes were kinder. One day, a customer haggled for a lower price, and she just smiled and said, "If you need it, just take it at that price, and may I send you extra blessings." Those who had once been scolded by her now came to greet her and chat happily. Mrs. Mai said that since she learned to chant the Buddha's name, her mind felt as light as the wind. She slept soundly at night and woke up feeling healthy in the morning. I realized I don't need to win against anyone. It's enough to win against my own anger. Mrs. Mai's story is a profound lesson for all of us. When we are angry, the first person hurt is not the person we are angry with, but ourselves. Anger harms our health, clouds our mind, destroys our merits, and breaks relationships. The more fiercely angry we are, the more distant we become from others, the more isolated we feel. Anger turns words into knives, eyes into fire, and makes families cold. How many people are angry with each other over a small misunderstanding, and then carry that resentment until the end of their lives. Only when the other person passes away do they realize there's no one left to be angry with. Only boundless regret. The Buddha taught that the greatest enemy in life is not outside, but within the mind. When we let anger take control, we allow that enemy to reign in our hearts. Anger not only kills present joy, but also sows seeds of suffering for the future. Every time we speak a harsh word, we are creating negative karma, whose consequences we will eventually receive. But karma does not distinguish who is right or wrong. It merely reflects the energy we emit. Therefore, those who understand the Dharma do not retaliate, do not get angry. They simply smile, because they know that forgiveness is the way to protect their own mind. When we can let go of anger, our mind becomes like clear water, reflecting the moon's shadow, no longer disturbed by violent waves. Only then do we truly become free to resolve resentment. First, we must learn to recognize it. When anger arises, do not try to suppress it, nor let it explode. Breathe deeply, slowly exhale. Let the breath embrace the anger, like a mother embracing her crying child. When we recognize anger, observe it, call it by its name. I am angry. Then the anger will weaken. The Buddha taught that knowing oneself to be angry is the first step of wisdom. When we know we are angry, we are no longer controlled by it. We become the master of our own mind. The more we practice mindfulness, the less opportunity anger has to arise. Because when the mind is as bright as the sun, darkness cannot exist. Besides practicing breathing, chanting the Buddha's name is also a method to help us calm our minds. When angry, stop and silently chant, Namo Amitabha Buddha. That sound is an awakening bell, a cool stream that extinguishes the fire in the heart. Each chant is a return to the present moment, to the inner stillness. When our mind connects with the compassionate energy of the Buddha, anger no longer has a place to reside. The more we chant, the gentler our heart becomes, the brighter our eyes, the more frequently our lips smile. These are the signs of a person who knows how to cultivate their mind, how to preserve peace in every breath. Another method is to write down your anger, not letting it be suppressed within. Sit quietly. Write down the reasons for your anger. Write down all the emotions surging within you. As you write, you see the anger more clearly, seeing it as just a fleeting emotion, not your true nature. Afterward, write a sentence of gratitude that thanks to this anger, you learned how to understand and be tolerant. When you are grateful for anger, you have resolved it. Forgiving others is a way to open the prison door of your mind and step out yourself. When you look back at life, you will see that nothing is worth being angry about for long. The person who hurt you today might be the very one who helped you grow. Every adversity is a lesson. Every anger is an opportunity for practice. If we know how to use anger to reflect on ourselves, then that anger becomes a teacher. The Buddha once said, "No one saves us but ourselves." Therefore, begin to save yourself by letting go of anger. If you are hearing these words, please pause for a moment. Inhale deeply. Exhale so slowly. Think about the person you are angry with. Look at them with the eyes of compassion. Perhaps they are suffering, struggling in ignorance, which is why they said or did something that hurt you. When you understand that, you will no longer be angry, but only feel compassion. When we feel compassion, the fire in our heart naturally extinguishes. Peace begins there. Anger is a self-built prison. Only forgiveness and letting go can open the heart's door. Open that door today so that the light of compassion shines throughout your heart, so that every day you can live in peace, lightness, and true freedom. Have you ever been so angry that your whole body trembled, your heart pounded, your breath became short, and after everything passed, you felt tired, out of breath, empty, and regretful? Anger is a storm, but what is more frightening is that we are the ones standing in the middle of that storm, allowing its fire to burn our very mind and body. The Buddha once taught that a person consumed by anger is like someone grasping a hot coal to throw at others. But before throwing it, their own hand is burned. Anger, in reality, harms no one as much as it harms oneself. In Buddhist teachings, anger is one of the three poisons: greed, anger, and ignorance. Greed makes the mind insatiable. Ignorance makes the mind clouded. And anger is the fierce fire that destroys all the merits we have accumulated. The Buddha taught, "A single flame of anger can burn down a mountain of merits." Just one outburst of anger is enough to burn down the mountain of merits we have created through many years of good deeds. When we are angry, blood rushes to the brain, breathing becomes rapid, the body stiffens, and our eyes become fierce. But the heartbreaking thing is that this anger not only kills joy, but also poisons our compassion, wisdom, and clarity. Every time we get angry, it's as if we are taking a knife and cutting into our own heart. Some people say that anger is a natural human emotion. That is true. But the Buddha did not teach us to deny emotions, but to look directly at them, understand them, and resolve them with wisdom. When we are aware of anger, we must know that there is a fire within us. If we do not stop, that fire will spread, burning away all peace, burning away all the good things we have cultivated. Anger does not arise spontaneously. It is merely a reaction. When we feel our ego is hurt, when someone says something that goes against our wishes, when someone does something we dislike, then we get angry. But if we look deeper, we will see that anger is not because of them, but because we lack sufficient tolerance, lack sufficient understanding to love. When the Buddha taught that anger is self-inflicted torment, he meant to remind us that anger is no different from a dose of poison that we willingly drink. When angry, the body produces toxins, causing the heart to race, blood pressure to rise, wisdom to become clouded, leading to insomnia, loss of appetite, and loss of peace. Each fit of anger brings both physical and mental illness. Holding anger in the heart is like embracing a hot coal, wishing for others to be burned. But in reality, we are the ones being scorched. Let's listen to a short story. Mr. Hung, a young engineer in the city, lived in a family with a kind wife and obedient children. One evening, over a small household matter, he lost his temper with his wife. The anger flared up. He shouted loudly, slammed his hand down on the table, and accidentally broke a mirror hanging on the wall. The broken glass fell, cutting his hand, and blood stained the floor. In that moment, seeing his own reflection in the cracked mirror, he froze. He saw his face distorted by anger, his eyes red, no longer himself. He realized that he was the one being hurt by anger, not anyone else. That night, he sat quietly before the Buddha altar. Looking at the flickering candle, he remembered the words of his teacher during a Dharma talk at the temple. Anger is self-inflicted torment. Knowing anger is suffering, yet still getting angry, that is foolishness. He began to practice breathing, inhaling deeply, exhaling slowly, then chanting 3 times, Namo Amitabha Buddha. With each chant, he felt his heart calm down. He contemplated, this anger is not me. It is just a cloud passing through the sky of my mind. That sky is still vast, still clear. As long as I don't cling to the clouds will dissipate, and the sky will clear. From that day on, whenever he felt annoyed, he would chant the Buddha's name again, breathe slowly again, and gradually he no longer got angry so easily. Mr. Hung's story is a mirror reflecting the lives of many of us. How many times have we been angry raised our voices, argued to win, and in the end, the one who suffered most was ourselves. Anger makes us lose loved ones, causes families to drift apart, and makes our bodies sick. Sometimes, after an argument, before we can say, "I'm sorry," the other person has passed away forever. At that moment, anger becomes a wound that never heals. The Buddha taught that within each person's mind are two seeds. One is the seed of anger, and the other is the seed of compassion. Whichever seed we nourish will grow. Every time we get angry, we are watering the seed of anger. Every time we listen, smile, and chant the Buddha's name, we are watering the seed of compassion. The wise person does not try to extinguish anger by force, but by recognizing and embracing it with mindfulness. When anger arises, stop, say nothing, do nothing. Take a deep breath, exhale very slowly, recognizing, "I am angry." Just by recognizing it, anger is already reduced by half. Chant Namo Amitabha, Buddha, 3 times, 5 times, 10 times, until the mind settles. When the breath is slow, the mind will also be at peace. Try to practice this every day. Whenever someone makes you angry, remember that they too are suffering. No one who is happy goes around causing harm to others. When you understand that, your heart will soften. When you understand, you will feel compassion. And when you feel compassion, you will no longer be angry. Forgiveness is not weakness, but the greatest strength. For forgiveness is freeing yourself from the prison of anger. In Zen, there is a very beautiful practice. When anger arises, sit quietly, place your hand on your chest, feel your heartbeat, and then silently say, "Sorry, my heart, for making you beat faster. Sorry, my breath, for making you rush. Sorry, my body, for poisoning you with anger." At that moment, you will feel compassion for yourself, and the anger will naturally dissolve. Just as when you pour cool water onto a fire, the fire is no longer fierce. A practitioner is someone who knows how to stop. Stopping is not defeat, but conquering oneself. The Buddha once taught, "To conquer 1,000 armies is not equal to conquering oneself." Every time we conquer a fit of anger, we take a step on the path to liberation. An angry person lives in fire. A person who knows how to let go of anger lives among lotus flowers. The lotus grows in mud, but is not defiled by the mud. Likewise, a practitioner lives in the world, but does not let anger muddy their mind. Life inherently holds many things that go against our wishes, but each time we face them, we have 2 choices. Either get angry or smile. Anger only harms, while smiling brings peace. A person who knows how to live serenely sees everything as wind blowing across a lake, not holding on to it, not complaining, not clinging. When the mind is like still water, even if the wind blows, the water only ripples gently and then settles. When we understand this deeply, we will see that nothing is worth being angry about, because all things come and go like clouds dissipating in the blue sky. At the end of the day, if there's someone in your heart who still makes you angry, clasp your hands, chant the Buddha's name, and generate a wish of dedication. May that person be peaceful. May I have compassion. May all beings be free from suffering and anger. When we send out wholesome energy, we are healing ourselves. When we wish peace for others, we are the first to receive peace. The wise person does not ask, "How do I stop being angry?" but asks, "How much more can I love?" Because when the heart is full of love, anger has no place to stand. Practice sitting quietly every day, just for 10 minutes. Inhale deeply, exhale slowly. Listen to your breath flowing in and out. Chant the Buddha's name with each breath. Your mind will become like still water, gradually reflecting the light of compassion. At that time, you will see that anger is just passing clouds, not worth clinging to. Finally, remember that anger is self-inflicted torment. Every time we are angry, we are cutting our own heart with a knife, imprisoning ourselves in the jail of suffering. But when we know how to let go, how to smile, how to breathe, how to chant the Buddha's name, we open the prison door and step out into the sky of freedom. At that moment, the cool breeze of peace will rush in, and we will feel our heart as light as a lotus petal blooming under the sun. Peace is not far away. Peace is right within the breath, without anger, within a smile of understanding, and within every silent chant of the Buddha's name in the heart. The wise person does not get angry. This saying seems simple, but if we pause for a few seconds, we will see that it contains a profound philosophy about how to live, how to understand, and how to keep our mind at peace amidst life's many turbulences. People often think that being smart means being fast, knowing more than others, winning arguments and actions. But in the Buddha's view, a truly wise person is not one who conquers the world, but one who conquers themselves. And the hardest victory in life is to conquer the anger in one's heart. The Buddha once taught that if anyone responds to anger with anger, that anger will never be extinguished. Only love and compassion can cool down anger. In truth, each of us has moments of losing our temper, moments when we can't control ourselves. Sometimes, just an unintentional word or a small action from someone can make us annoyed, our heart pound, our voice rise, our face flush. At such times, reason is pushed aside, and we are like a spark igniting, wanting to burn everything. But when that fire passes, what remains in our heart is only weariness, emptiness, and regret. Anger never brings any benefit. It only makes us lose our peace. The wise do not get angry because they know that anger is a way of hurting themselves. When we are angry with someone, we carry their image in our head all day long. When we are angry about something, our mind becomes heavy, leaving no room for joy to enter. Meanwhile, the person who made us angry might be living very casually, but we ourselves are locked in the dark prison of emotions. Thus, a wise person understands that anger does not change anyone. It only causes more harm to oneself. They choose to remain silent, smile, and find a more peaceful path to move forward. There is a famous quote by Napoleon that says, "He who controls his emotions is greater than he who conquers a city." How true, because conquering externally only requires strength and strategy. But conquering internally, conquering oneself, requires wisdom and compassion. A wise person is not someone who doesn't know anger, but someone who knows how to stop when angry. They clearly see anger rising in their heart, see the flame igniting in their chest, and they breathe deeply so that the cool wind of mindfulness soothes that flame. When the mind is still, wisdom will shine, and the heart will be clear. That is true wisdom. Once, a Zen master told his disciple, "If you are angry, look directly at the anger, like looking at a cloud drifting by. It comes and it will go. Don't cling to it. That is the art of living serenely." Because the wise person does not get angry, not because they are indifferent, but because they deeply understand impermanence. They know that the things that annoy us today will be different tomorrow. The words that hurt us today will fade away later. Everything changes. So, anger is just a passing breeze in the mind. If we don't chase after it, it will naturally dissipate. The Buddhist Dharma Ling Ung channel recalls a very ordinary but profound story. In the Mekong Delta, there was an elderly man named Tu, a retired person who lived with his wife in a small house by the river. Uncle Tu's life was very peaceful. Every morning, he would wake up early, brew a pot of tea, sit on the porch looking at the river flow, and listen to the birds sing. In the afternoon, he would go to a nearby temple, sweep leaves, and listen to the abbot preach the scriptures. His heart was light as evening smoke. Life flowed on peacefully until new neighbors moved in. A young couple who liked to play loud music every night. At first, Uncle To thought, well, they just moved in. Let them enjoy themselves for a while, then it will probably be quiet. But no, the music only got louder, sometimes even echoing late into the night. Every night was the same. Amidst the quiet riverine tranquility, the booming music reverberated against the walls, preventing him from sleeping. He was very annoyed. His heart boiled like water in a pot. One night, he almost went over, intending to knock on their door and reason with them. But as his hand touched the door latch, he suddenly remembered the abbot's teaching. A wise person does not get angry. Getting angry is burning down your own house with someone else's fire. He stopped, sat down on a chair, took a deep breath, and chuckled softly. The next morning, instead of going over to scold them, he picked a basket of fruit from his garden. A few guavas, a bunch of longans, some ripe bananas, and brought them over to his neighbors as a gift. When the door opened, the young neighbor was surprised. Uncle To smiled gently and spoke softly. "I see you two just moved in. You must still be busy. I brought some fruit for you to enjoy. One thing, though, the music you play at night is a bit loud. It's hard for us old folks to sleep. If you could turn it down a bit, I'd appreciate it." His voice was calm, without blame or irritation. The neighbor blushed and nodded repeatedly. From that day on, the music gradually became softer and then disappeared entirely. After some time, the two families became close, and the neighbors often came to visit Uncle To, asking him for advice on how to grow vegetables and tend a garden. Uncle To smiled. "See? A wise person doesn't get angry and gains a friend." Uncle To's story is simple but profound. If he had lost his temper and scolded them that day, it would surely have only led to more conflict. But because he chose a gentle approach, the result was the resolution of a potentially bad relationship. In Buddhism, this is the way to counter anger with compassion. When we use a gentle mind to deal with evil, the evil naturally dissolves, just as when we light a lamp in the darkness immediately disappears. We don't need to fight the darkness. We just need to light it up. A wise person does not get angry, not because they are weak, but because they are stronger than anyone else. They do not let emotions control them. They understand that every time they get angry, their mind is being controlled by others. That is a loss of freedom. Getting angry is giving control to others. When we know how to stop, take a deep breath, and observe, we are reclaiming our freedom. That is wisdom. The Buddha taught that if anyone knows how to be patient, that person will find peace. Patience is not enduring bitterness, but keeping the mind undisturbed. Patience is like a lotus blooming in mud without being defiled by it. A wise person does not get angry. They know how to transform anger into the energy of love. Seeing someone make a mistake, they do not blame, but feel compassion for them because they are deluded. Seeing someone insult them, they do not resent, but understand that the other person is suffering. When we can see in this way, anger will dissipate like mist meeting the morning sun. Many people ask how to reduce anger when hurt by others. The first thing, in truth, is to recognize the anger that is present. Don't run from it. Don't pretend to be calm. Look directly at it. Place your hand on your chest and breathe deeply. Each breath is a cool breeze soothing the fire in your heart. As you inhale, know you are angry. As you exhale, smile at that anger. Don't fight it. Don't suppress it. Just observe and smile. Like a kind mother looking at her crying child, not scolding, just holding them close. When we treat our emotions with such compassion, anger will gradually dissipate. The second practice is to know how to let go. Often, we are angry because we cling to old stories. Someone says something or does something that we remember forever. But ask yourself, is it worth it? Life is too short to waste energy on unhappiness. When we let go of a stone in our heart, our steps will be lighter. The more anger we hold, the heavier our heart becomes. The wise understand this, so they choose forgiveness. Forgiveness is not for the other person's sake, but for our own peace. Forgiveness is a gift we give to our own heart. During meditation sessions, masters often guide the practice of breathing in, knowing I am breathing, breathing out, smiling. When anger arises, apply this practice. Inhale, we know there's fire in our heart. Exhale, we know the cool breeze from our breath is soothing it. Do this for a few minutes, and you'll feel your mind lighten. Try writing down what makes you angry on a piece of paper. Then burn the paper as a ritual of letting go. Remember, external fire is never as dangerous as the fire within the mind, and only we ourselves can extinguish it with the water of mindfulness. The wise do not get angry also because they understand the law of karma. In the Dhammapada, The Buddha taught that an angry person, if they know they are angry, has come close to awakening. An angry person who does not know they are angry is sinking in delusion. When angry, we create bad karma through words, actions, and thoughts. A word spoken in a heated moment can cause irreparable damage, leading to lifelong regret. But if we stop and listen, that karma does not arise. The wise see this and always choose silence instead of arguing to win. They understand that winning an argument does not necessarily win a person's heart, but losing an argument can preserve inner peace. That is wisdom. In this world, there are people who think they are strong because they dare to speak, dare to argue, dare to get angry. But true strength is not in shouting, but in inner stillness. The wise are like a calm lake. Even when the wind blows, they can still reflect the sky and clouds. The foolish are like muddy water. Just one pebble thrown in disturbs everything. When our mind is calm, we see everything clearly. When our mind is agitated, everything becomes distorted. Therefore, the wise choose silence to keep their mind clear. One day, someone asked the Buddha, "Lord, if someone insults me, what should I do?" The Buddha smiled and replied, "If someone offers you a gift and you do not accept it, to whom does that gift belong?" The person replied, "It belongs to the giver." The Buddha said, "Likewise, if someone speaks harsh words to me, and I do not accept them, those words still belong to them." Hearing this, the person awakened. It turns out we don't have to respond to everything, nor do we need to explain everything. Sometimes silence is the wisest answer in life. Think about how many times we have been angry and later regretted it. Sometimes it's over a small matter, like a child dropping a bowl of rice, a spouse saying something displeasing, or a friend forgetting a promise. At that moment, we react immediately. But if we pause for a moment, we might realize it wasn't worth it. The wise are those who know how to stop, how to breathe, how to smile in the face of anger-inducing situations. They choose peace over right or wrong, because right or wrong can sometimes be just a subjective view, while peace is true happiness. When anger arises in your mind, remember the Buddha's teaching. Anger is like a consuming fire, burning away 100 years of merits. A single fit of anger can destroy all efforts in spiritual practice. So the wise always remind themselves not to let a minute of temper destroy a lifetime of peace. They live slowly, listen, and empathize. They see that Everyone has their own suffering. A person who speaks harsh words might be in pain themselves. When we understand that, we will no longer be angry, but feel compassion. That afternoon, Uncle To still sat on the porch, watching the sun set over the river. The loud music from years ago was gone. Only the chirping of birds on the branches remained. He sipped his tea and smiled gently. He knew that in life, some things don't require a reaction, just a compassionate heart. When we are kind, heaven and earth also become kind. Uncle To said, "In the past, I used to get angry a lot. If anyone said anything I didn't like, I'd argue immediately. After many years of listening to the Dharma, I realized that a wise person knows how to be silent. Silent to listen to oneself, silent to see others, silent to keep the mind pure." Hearing him speak, I suddenly felt my own heart calm down. And that is what each of us can learn: how to stop in the midst of anger, how to look deeply to feel compassion. The wise do not get angry, not because they want to appear virtuous, but because they have understood the nature of happiness. Peace does not come from changing others, but from maintaining our own mind in all circumstances. When someone speaks harsh words, remember that it is a test for your mind. If you can keep your smile, you have passed. Finally, to practice this teaching of the Buddha, every day dedicate a few minutes to sitting quietly, closing your eyes, breathing deeply in and out. Contemplate the phrase, "The wise do not get angry," as a seed sown in your mind. Whenever you are angry, remind yourself, "I don't want to lose my peace for others. I want to keep my mind pure." Smile at yourself as a kind friend. List 3 things you are grateful for today. Because when your heart is full of gratitude, anger has no place to stay. Clasp your hands and send loving energy to those who have hurt you. Because when you love them, you are truly free. The wise do not get angry. That is not just a religious teaching, but a way of life. Keep the mind free from anger, and life will be less painful. When the mind is at peace, the surroundings are also peaceful. When the heart is calm, everything becomes clear. Like the moon reflecting in still water, when the mind is undisturbed, wisdom manifests. Let this phrase be a reminder whenever a storm arises in your heart. The wise do not get angry, for they have understood that no victory is greater than conquering oneself. There is a saying in Zen that every practitioner should remember. The 8 winds do not stir, sitting firm on a golden lotus. At first glance, it sounds like a poetic Zen verse full of imagery, but in reality, It is a great lesson on how to maintain the mind amidst life's changes. For human life is like a field full of winds, sometimes cool and pleasant, sometimes stormy. Only when our mind stands firm can we be at peace amidst those winds. A person prone to anger, sadness, and joy, according to every event, will easily be swept away by the 8 worldly winds, losing the inherent peace within their heart. The Buddha taught that when the mind is settled, the winds of life cannot knock it down. These 8 winds are gain, loss, disgrace, fame, praise, blame, suffering, and happiness, meaning receiving benefits and suffering losses, being humiliated and being praised, gaining reputation and being criticized, encountering suffering and experiencing joy. These are the 8 winds that always blow around human life, causing those whose minds are not settled to fluctuate with joy and sorrow with every gust. When praised, we rejoice. When criticized, we feel sad and humiliated. When we gain, we feel successful. When we lose, we feel defeated. But if we look deeper, we will see that all these are just fleeting breezes. They have no true substance, but are merely reactions of the mind to circumstances. The more agitated our mind, the stronger the wind. The calmer our mind, the weaker the wind becomes. In Zen Buddhism, there is a famous anecdote about Su Dongpo and Zen Master Foyan, which clearly illustrates the spirit of the 8 winds do not stir. Su Dongpo was a learned man, skilled in literature, and deeply revered the Buddha. One day, he meditated with Master Foyan. Afterward, he wrote a poem and sent it to the temple, saying, "As I meditated, I saw myself as the Buddha. The 8 winds do not stir." The 8 winds here refer to the 8 worldly winds that the Buddha taught about. Su Dongpo was proud that he had reached a state of an unshakable mind, believing that no matter what happened, it would not disturb him. Zen Master Foyan read the poem, only smiled, and then wrote a few words in reply. "Pfft, even a gentle breeze blows you away." Upon receiving it, Su Dongpo's face flushed with anger, and he immediately went to the temple to confront the master. "Why do you criticize me like that?" The Zen master calmly replied, "I only blew one puff, and you're already disturbed. What about 8 winds?" At that moment, Su Dongpo realized that his mind was not truly steadfast yet. A single sarcastic remark had made him lose his composure, so how could he claim that the 8 winds did not stir him? This story remains a profound lesson for practitioners and for us in modern life. In today's life, those 8 winds are still blowing around us every day. When work goes smoothly, we feel happy, but when we lose our job, we feel sad. When someone praises us for being good, our heart rejoices. But when someone criticizes us, we feel hurt. When we have money and fame, we see life as beautiful. But when we lose them, we feel like we've fallen into a ditch. All these emotions are reactions of the mind to the 8 winds. A practitioner is not someone who avoids the 8 winds, but someone who knows how to smile when the 8 winds blow. Because they understand that nothing lasts forever. Gain will turn to loss. Fame will also fade. Joy will pass. And suffering will not stay long. All are just breezes passing through life. Only those who are awake are not swept away. The Buddha once taught that among the 8 winds, none is real. Only our mind is real. If the mind is undisturbed, all 8 winds are at peace. In other words, when we maintain mindfulness, our mind is like a calm lake. Even if the winds of life blow strongly, the water's surface still reflects the sky and clouds. But when our mind is agitated, even a small breeze can muddy the entire lake. Therefore, meditation is not about sitting still to avoid life, but about keeping the mind undisturbed amidst life. When the mind is undisturbed, that is wisdom. That is true peace. The Buddhist Dharma. Ling Ung channel heard a small but meaningful story about a teacher named Han. She was an elementary school teacher, kind, and loved children. For 10 years in the classroom, she always taught with all her heart. One day, a parent wrote a post on social media accusing Ms. Han of favoring students and handling things unfairly. The post quickly spread, with some people supporting her and others criticizing. When she read it, Miss Han was stunned. She felt sad, hurt, and tears welled up. But then she remembered the words of the abbot who taught during a summer retreat. The 8 winds do not stir, sitting firm on a golden lotus. Gain, loss, disgrace, fame, praise, blame, suffering, and happiness are all just winds. Sit still within those winds. Don't chase after them. Ms. Han took a deep breath, closed her phone, and smiled. She didn't rush to explain herself or write a rebuttal. She thought, if I am innocent, time will speak for me. She continued to go to school and teach as usual. A few days later, that parent discovered that the one who had made the mistake was their own child. The parent was ashamed and came to the school to apologize. Miss Han gently said, "Please don't be embarrassed. Everyone makes mistakes sometimes. I thank you for coming." Her gentle smile brought tears to the parents' eyes. Later, when recounting the story, Ms. Han said, "If I had lost my temper that day, if I had written a rebuttal, things would surely have been different. Perhaps I would have felt relieved, but my heart would not have been at peace. But when I chose silence, I preserved my own mind, and in the end, it was my calmness that resolved all misunderstandings." Her story earned the admiration of many at the school. Everyone realized that sometimes silence is the most powerful voice. That is the strength of a person who knows how to keep their mind settled amidst the 8 winds of life. In Buddhism, true peace does not lie in avoiding the wind, but in being steadfast in the wind. Life is inherently impermanent. No one can avoid praise and blame, gain and loss, joy and sorrow. But a wise person will not be swept away by the 8 winds. They know that praise is also wind, and blame is also wind. People praise because they see what they want to see, and they blame because they see what they dislike. But both are reflections of their minds, not ours. If we understand this, we will not be angry, not sad, not complacent, nor despairing. In the Anguttara Nikaya, the Buddha taught, "Just as a solid rock is not shaken by the wind, so a wise person is not shaken by praise or blame. A settled mind is that rock. When someone praises us, we just smile, knowing that it is due to good causes and conditions. When someone criticizes us, we also smile, knowing that it is a karmic condition for us to learn patience." A person who has attained a settled mind views all things with equanimity. They are not fixated on the words of others, nor do they lose themselves to fleeting emotions. In fact, to reach the state where the 8 winds do not stir is not an overnight achievement. It is a lifelong process of cultivation, practicing mindfulness every day. Whenever someone annoys us, instead of reacting immediately, pause for a breath. Inhale, we know we are angry. Exhale, we smile. Inhale, we see the winds of life blowing. Exhale, we know we are still sitting peacefully. When we can do that, the mind will gradually settle and anger will weaken. The power of meditation lies there, not in avoiding emotions, but in looking directly at them with compassion. Another practice is to write down the 8 words: gain, loss, disgrace, fame, praise, blame, suffering, happiness, and display them where they are easily seen. Every day, when you encounter joy or sorrow, look at them and ask yourself, which wind is blowing me? If you find yourself happy because of praise, smile, and remember that it is praise. If you feel sad because of criticism, remember that it is blame. When you recognize this, your mind will be less attached. Practice looking at everything with the eye of no self. There is no one to praise, no one to blame. There is only the operation of cause and effect. When you see that, you will be at peace. To keep the mind undisturbed amidst the 8 winds, practitioners also need to cultivate gratitude and compassion. When we are grateful for life, we will not complain. When we have compassion, we will not harbor resentment. Gratitude is like cool water, soothing the fire of anger and competitiveness. Practice gratitude meditation every day. Sit quietly, breathe, and remember 3 things that make you feel happy. Perhaps it's the morning sunlight, a child's smile, or just a warm cup of tea. When we appreciate small things, the winds of life no longer have the power to shake us. Some say that a person who is unmoving is dead. But in Buddhism, being unmoving is not indifference, but awakening. A person with a settled mind still perceives everything, but they do not let emotions carry them away. They still know joy and sorrow, but are not attached, like a person standing by a river, watching the water flow, knowing the water is flowing, but not jumping into the current. That is inner freedom. Freedom is not about having no wind, but about knowing how to fly in the wind. When the 8 winds of life blow, the person with a settled mind sits firmly on their own golden lotus throne. That lotus is mindfulness, wisdom, and compassion. When we have these 3 things, no wind can knock us down. No matter what others say or do, we can still maintain our peace. That is the greatest happiness in human life, for happiness does not lie in how much we have, but in how much peace we can maintain amidst changes. In the afternoon, Ms. Han sat in the classroom again, watching the children play. Sunlight streamed through the window, illuminating the blackboard. She remembered the recent incident and smiled. The 8 winds were still blowing, but her mind was now at peace. She understood that when her heart was no longer swayed by praise or blame, true happiness began. Because a person with a settled mind is someone who lives in freedom, not swept away by the winds of life. So, whoever is often angry, sad, or hurt by others' words, remember the Buddha's teaching. Sit firmly on the golden lotus throne of your own mind. Every day, breathe and smile. Practice letting go of praise and blame, gain and loss, joy and sorrow. Practice looking at life as passing breezes. When the wind comes, know it. When the wind goes, bid it farewell. Don't hold on. Don't chase after it. When you can do that, every wind will be a cool breeze, and you will find that happiness is not far away. It is precisely when your heart is no longer agitated. In this life, perhaps all of us have been insulted by others, spoken ill of, criticized, or misunderstood. Some choose to react, using harsh words in return. Some remain silent, but inwardly seethe, still dwelling on those words. And then there are others who simply smile gently and walk past, as if nothing can touch their minds. Among these three ways, only one helps us truly find peace. That is, not accepting the insult, not letting our mind be disturbed by negative words. The Buddha once taught a profound lesson about this in a famous story involving him and an arrogant Brahmin. One day, the Buddha was on his alms round in a village when a famous, aggressive, and arrogant Brahmin blocked his path. He reviled, cursed, and insulted the Buddha with vulgar words, simply because he did not believe in the Buddha's teachings. But the Buddha said nothing. He simply stood still, his eyes compassionate, his smile gentle. When the Brahmin was tired of cursing, the Buddha gently asked, "If someone brings you a gift, but you do not accept it, to whom does that gift belong?" The Brahmin replied, "It naturally belongs to the giver." The Buddha then said, "Likewise, you offer me words of abuse, but I do not accept them, so those words still belong to you." Upon hearing this, the Brahmin was stunned. He bowed his head in shame and knelt down to ask for forgiveness. With just a few gentle words, the Buddha taught humanity a great lesson. When we do not accept an insult, we are not hurt. When we do not let our mind get entangled in negativity, others cannot make us suffer. The pain only comes when we grasp those harsh words, hold them in our heart, and then torment ourselves. But if we let go, those words drift away like clouds in the wind. A person who understands the Dharma is not afraid of evil words, because they know that those words can only reach the ear, but cannot touch the heart. Like a calm lake, no matter who throws a stone into it, the ripples last for a while, and then the surface returns to stillness. But if our mind is a muddy lake, even a small pebble will keep the water cloudy forever. Patience is not weakness or fear, but the strength of someone who knows how to control themselves, how to master their emotions, and how to prioritize their peace over temporary winning or losing. In the Anguttara Nikaya, the Buddha once said, "The wise do not get angry at an insult. The wise keep their mind calm because they know that anger is like a hot coal. Whoever picks it up first will be burned." That saying contains a profound truth. When we are angry, we are hurting ourselves. When we react with anger, we are accepting the negative energy of others and doubling it in our own minds. Imagine if someone threw a stone at us and we picked it up and threw it back at them. Both would be hurt. But if we just look, smile, and walk past, the stone will fall to the ground and lie still. The other person threw a stone, but no one caught it. So in the end, they only tire themselves out with their own actions. Likewise, when someone speaks ill of us, curses us, they are creating karma for themselves. If we retaliate, we create karma with them. But if we remain silent, we escape that karmic stream. A person who understands the Dharma is not someone who doesn't hear evil things, but someone who knows how to listen without being swept away. There is a very relatable, everyday story about Uncle Ba, a security guard at a small apartment building. He was a kind, diligent man, well liked by many. But once, a young resident, in a hurry to get to work, became impatient and angrily cursed him. The harsh words echoed in the morning, making many people around uncomfortable. Yet Uncle Ba did not say a word. He just smiled kindly, clasped his hands, and softly said, "Thank you, son. Go safely to work." Then he returned to his duties, as if nothing had happened. A neighbor, seeing this, immediately asked, "Why didn't you react? Why didn't you say anything back to him?" Uncle Ba smiled and said, "If someone gives bad words and you don't accept them, they still belong to them. Why should I accept them and suffer?" That seemingly simple saying was full of wisdom. A few days later, the young man returned, his face full of remorse. He came to apologize to Uncle Ba, saying that he was in such a hurry that day, frustrated, and took his anger out on the wrong person. Uncle Ba just patted his shoulder, smiled kindly. "My teacher once said, 'Don't let others' anger cause you to lose your peace. It's enough that you realize your mistake. Remember to keep your heart light from now on.'" The young man was touched and bowed his head in thanks. A person like Uncle Ba is not without emotions, but has understood how to transform them. He did not extinguish anger with resistance, but resolved it with compassion. In the moment he smiled, the curse vanished. But in the heart of the one who cursed, that anger returned, making them reflect and feel ashamed. That is the power of a person who understands the Dharma, winning with a gentle heart, not with angry words. The Buddha taught that patience is the armor of the wise. The person who can patiently endure insult is the one with the greatest inner strength. Among the 84,000 Dharma doors, patience is considered one of the most noble virtues. For patience is not just endurance, but transformation. When we are patient, we do not let negative energy spread. We are like a wall that stops all arrows of resentment, preventing them from piercing through and harming anyone else. Patience is not swallowing anger in silence, but understanding the nature of anger and then letting it go. When someone insults us, they are only expressing their own mind, not ours. Just as when a person is sick, they cough, but we don't get angry at their cough. The one who speaks ill, the one who curses, is the same. They are sick in their mind. If we get angry at them, we also catch that sickness. In daily life, we can practice patience in small ways. When someone says something unpleasant, instead of responding, take a deep breath, exhale slowly, and then ask yourself, do I need to accept this energy? If the answer is no, smile and walk away. When you hear someone speak ill of you, instead of getting angry, silently chant Namo Amitabha Buddha. Dedicate the merit for that person to find peace, because only suffering people utter suffering words. When someone misunderstands you, instead of trying to explain, live correctly in silence. Time will prove everything. Silence does not make us weak, but makes our mind stronger. A person who knows patience is a person who knows how to preserve peace for themselves and for others. A person who loses their temper is defeated immediately in the battle with themselves. The Buddha once taught that conquering 1,000 armies is not yet a hero. The one who conquers oneself is truly great. The victory in the Dharma is not about conquering others, but about conquering the angry mind, conquering ego clinging, conquering delusive thoughts. If every time someone insults us, we get angry, we react, then we are giving control of our emotions to others. Whatever they say, we become joyful or sad accordingly. This is no different from being a small leaf in a stream, swept away by every wave. But if we keep our mind like the root of a lotus in a lake, whether the water is muddy or clear, the lotus still diffuses its fragrance. A person who understands the Dharma lives in the world with a peaceful mind. That is true freedom. Someone asked, "How can I not get angry when insulted? How can painful words not hurt?" In reality, anger does not arise spontaneously. It arises from the ego. When someone insults us, we feel hurt because we think, "I am insulted." But if we let go of the I, there is no one left to be insulted. When we understand that this body, this reputation, praise and blame are all impermanent, then an insult is just like a breeze passing by our ear. We hear it, and then let it go. No need to hold on to it. A very good practice is that whenever you hear harsh words, imagine them as a puff of smoke flying past your face. Smoke can sting your eyes if you try to stare at it for too long. But if you let it pass, the wind will carry it away. Inhale deeply. Exhale slowly. And silently chant, I do not accept. Gradually, your mind will no longer be disturbed. That is patience in meditation. In mindfulness, we can practice recognizing anger. When someone says something that hurts us, instead of reacting immediately, we stop, look deeply into our mind, and silently say, I am angry. This anger is a hot energy in my body. Then we breathe deeply, exhale slowly, feeling the breath soothe that energy. The anger will dissipate like a bubble. When we can do that, we will feel our heart lighten like a cloud. No one can hurt us if we do not allow it. A Buddhist practitioner is not someone who doesn't encounter adversity, but someone who knows how to transform adversity into a lesson. When insulted, instead of asking, why did they say that? We can ask, why am I so easily hurt? That question helps us examine our mind, helps us grow, helps us understand ourselves. A true practitioner does not fear being cursed, but fears losing mindfulness when being cursed. The Brahmin in the ancient story represents ignorance, while the Buddha represents wisdom. When ignorance confronts wisdom, ignorance dissipates. In life, whenever someone insults us, it is an opportunity for us to practice the Buddha's wisdom, to see clearly the nature of all things, impermanence, no self, not worth being angry about. When we realize that, we have transcended a layer of the angry mind. Finally, the one who does not retaliate is not the loser, but the one who conquers themselves. Not accepting insults is preserving a pure mind. Patience is the strength of one who understands the Dharma, because only the wise understand that all anger is futile, all harsh words will pass, and only peace remains. If each of us could stop for a second before speaking, take a breath before reacting, and smile instead of retaliating, how much lighter this world would be. Amidst the clamor of life, please keep a quiet space for yourself. When others throw stones, pick them up and make them steps to climb. When others sow evil words, respond with compassion. When someone belittles you, stand firm in your kindness. That is the winning Dharma, winning with the Buddha's heart, not with human words. The ancients said, One thought of anger opens hundreds of thousands of karmic doors. One fit of anger destroys accumulated merits. But just one thought of patience, myriad blessings immediately come. Therefore, a person who knows patience not only preserves mental peace, but also preserves blessings. Patience is not endurance, but a form of awakened wisdom, because a person who knows patience is a person who knows how to love themselves, not letting their heart be swept away by the fierce current of karma. From the story of the Brahmin and the Buddha to kind Uncle Ba, the security guard, we understand that patience is not silence in weakness, but silence in clarity. It's not about not knowing anger, but knowing anger and then letting go. It's not about not hearing evil things, but hearing them and not holding them in the heart. And when we can do that, we are truly free. The one who conquers the world is not necessarily happy. The one who conquers themselves, the one who does not let anger control them, is the one who lives peacefully in this world. The Buddha once said, "If one knows how to live with compassion, even in hell, it transforms into a heavenly realm." And it is the practice of patience, the practice of not accepting insults, that is the path leading us to that heavenly realm, right in this life. Perhaps all of us have, at some point, been angry, said things we shouldn't have, hurt others, simply because we couldn't maintain a moment of calm. Anger is very real, very human, but it is also a fire that can burn away everything we hold most precious. Some people lose loved ones due to a heated word. Some regret for a lifetime because of a moment of uncontrolled temper. The Buddha taught that anger is not strength. Letting go is true strength. When our heart ceases to be agitated, that is when peace returns, light as a breath. Letting go of anger does not mean we are weak or submissive. On the contrary, it is a manifestation of wisdom and compassion. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha taught that conquering 1,000 enemies in battle is not equal to conquering oneself. Conquering oneself is the most glorious achievement. When we overcome our own anger, we have won the greatest battle in life. Anger does not lie outside, but within our mind. The person who speaks insulting words is just a passing wind. If we do not cling, the wind blows and then passes, leaving nothing behind. But if we cling, if we react, the wind turns into a storm, and we are the ones who suffer. Imagine, every time we are angry, our breath is short, our heart races, our body is tense, our whole being is consumed by the sudden hot energy of resentment. At that moment, we are no longer ourselves. We say words that hurt others, and afterward, we ourselves are hurt. Anger is like a fire in our hand. We hold it to throw at others, but first, it burns our own palm. Letting go of anger is not only forgiving others, but also liberating ourselves from a heavy burden. A practitioner of the Dharma understands that all emotions are impermanent. Anger passes. Resentment fades. Only those who know how to stop in the midst of the flow of emotions are truly free. When angry, take a step back. Inhale deeply. Exhale slowly. And listen to the voice of your own heart. At that moment, you will realize that anger is just a thin wisp of smoke that dissipates when you don't hold on to it. In the Satipatthana Sutta, the Buddha taught about observing the body, feelings, mind, and mental objects, meaning observing one's own emotions without judgment. When we realize, this is anger present in me, just by recognizing it, the anger has already begun to dissolve. There is a story that many practitioners often recall. Once, the Buddha was cursed and insulted in many ways by a Brahmin. He just sat silently, his face still serene. When the other person was tired, the Buddha gently said, "If you offer a gift to someone and they do not accept it, the gift still belongs to you. Likewise, if you speak insulting words and I do not accept them, those words still belong to you." That is the wisdom of an awakened being. He was not swept into the whirlpool of anger because he understood that accepting the anger of others is also adding suffering to oneself. We, who are still ordinary people, may not yet be able to do that, but we can begin to learn. Practice being silent. Practice stepping back. Practice smiling instead of reacting. In everyday life, sometimes anger comes from very small things. An unintentional word, a delayed action, or just a look. If we keep our minds vigilant, we will see that anger always tries to stir up our pride and ego. When our ego is touched, we react. But those who understand the Dharma know that the ego is merely an illusion, like the moon's reflection on water, which dissolves when touched. Therefore, the wise do not let their hearts be disturbed by the words or actions of others. They see the truth that whatever anyone does or says comes from their own mind. We only need to keep our mind clear. And even if others bring darkness, they cannot dim the light within us. The story of Mrs. Hoa is a simple yet profound testament. She was a single mother. Her husband died early, and she single-handedly raised her son. Her son, Hung, grew up with his mother's sacrifices. But as he reached adulthood, Hung became stubborn, proud, and wanted to assert himself. One day, after a fierce argument, Hung left home to work far away, without saying a word to his mother. Mrs. Hoa was in pain, angry with her son, believing him to be unfilial. That anger smoldered in her heart for 3 long years. Every time someone mentioned her son, she would turn away, tears welling up, still saying, "He is no longer my son." One afternoon, she happened to hear a Dharma talk on the radio with the theme, "Letting go is wisdom." The monk's gentle voice was like the wind. Every word went straight to her heart. If you are angry with others, you are burning your own heart. Letting go of anger is not weakness, but allowing your heart to rest. She sat silently for a while, then burst into sobs. She realized that for the past 3 years, the one who suffered most was not her son, but herself. Being angry with her son did not make him return. It only caused her insomnia and loss of appetite, leaving her mind and body exhausted. She picked up the phone, hesitated for a long time, then dialed. When her son's voice echoed on the other end, choked and trembling, she could only say 2 words. "Mom's sorry." On the other end, Hung was silent for a long time, then sobbed, "I miss you too, Mom." In that moment, all resentment dissolved. Only love remained. From then on, Mrs. Hoa felt lighter. She began to chant the Buddha's name every morning and every evening. Whenever she felt angry, she would close her eyes and chant the name of Amitabha Buddha, letting the anger flow away with each breath. She told her neighbor, "Anger is like carrying stones, while forgiveness is putting them down. I'm tired, so I'm just putting them down." That saying, though simple, was deeply moving. Letting go is not just forgiving others, but setting your own mind free. When the heart no longer clings, all suffering also dissipates. Letting go of anger is not easy, because the human mind is accustomed to reacting. But precisely for that reason, letting go of anger is even more precious. One who knows how to let go is one who understands the Dharma. In Buddhism, letting go is the foundation of practice. The Buddha did not teach us to escape, but to look deeply into the nature of anger, to see that it is not real. It comes and goes like clouds drifting across the sky. If we cling, the clouds will obscure the light. If we let go, the sky will clear. Our mind is the same. Just let go, and peace will be present. For those who are angry, try a simple practice. When anger arises, stop, take a deep breath, and exhale very slowly. Bring your mind back to your breath. Feel your chest rise and fall. Listen to your heart beating. Tell yourself, right now I am angry, but I choose peace. Don't try to suppress it. Just recognize it. When we observe without judgment, emotions naturally dissolve like mist dissipating when the sun rises. If possible, write down your feelings in a journal or chant a Buddha's name to bring your mind back to mindfulness. Practicing this every day, you will see anger come and go like a stranger, no longer dwelling long in your heart. Try to think, life is short. We are here today, but tomorrow is uncertain. Is it worth spending so much time in our lives just being angry at someone? When we let go, we create space for love to blossom. A person who was once angry, when they learn to forgive, will feel their heart expand. They smile more easily, speak more gently, and find everyone more endearing. That is the blessing of letting go. As the saying goes, put down afflictions, and peace will be present. When we stop harboring resentment, blessings naturally arise. The ancients said, "Still water is clear. A calm mind is bright." When our heart is agitated by anger, everything we see is distorted. Everyone we meet seems hateful. But when our heart is at peace, the world is also at peace. We don't need to search for peace elsewhere. Just stopping anger makes peace manifest. Letting go of anger is giving ourselves the most precious gift, the rest of the mind. If anyone is still harboring unresolved anger, please remember Mrs. Hoa's story. One phone call, one apology, one sincere tear dissolved 3 years of resentment. In this life, no one knows how many times we will meet again. Speak words of love while you still can. Don't wait until tomorrow for only regret to remain. Let go, not for others, but for yourself. When the mind settles, life also settles. When the heart is at peace, blessings naturally come. And if one day you find yourself getting angry, please remember the Buddha's teaching. An angry person is like someone holding a hot coal to throw at others. First, their own hand is burned. Choose to let go. Choose to step back. Choose to breathe deeply. Because the moment you put down anger, you also put down your karmic suffering. When the mind stops, the storms also cease. The mind is still like a calm lake, reflecting the peaceful moonlight. Letting go of anger, allowing the heart to rest, is not a distant ideal. It is the path the Buddha walked, the practice of patience that he taught. Each mindful breath, each time we choose love instead of reaction is one step closer to enlightenment. Peace does not come from outside, but arises from within our own mind, where we know how to let go, how to listen, how to love, and how to forgive. At that moment, even if life is stormy, our heart remains like a lotus blooming in the mud, diffusing the fragrance of peace everywhere. In life, everyone wishes for smooth sailing. They want everything to go well, their family to be warm and happy, and their career to be stable. Yet, reality often doesn't match our desires. Sometimes we give our all, but the results are the opposite. Sometimes we are kind to others, but they betray us. Sometimes we try our best, but still fail. The longer we live, the more we realize a truth. Life is impermanent. Nothing lasts forever as we wish. The wise do not complain. Do not blame life. Do not get angry, but smile and accept things as they are, because they understand that all things come and go as lessons that life sends us. The Buddha taught that life is suffering because humans cling to what is not real. We suffer because we want everything to go our way. When things don't go as planned, we get angry, we blame, we hurt. But if we look deeply, we will see that all changes in life are just manifestations of impermanence. Impermanence means nothing is fixed. What is here today might be gone tomorrow. Beauty will fade, loved ones will depart, fame and fortune will also dissipate. Only a peaceful mind is a true refuge. The Buddha taught that all phenomena are impermanent, constantly arising, ceasing, and changing. Only the true mind is unchanging. If we cling to temporary things, we will suffer. If we understand the law of impermanence, we will stop being angry and be grateful even for things that go against our wishes. When we encounter something that doesn't go our way, the first reaction is often anger. We assume someone is wrong, the situation is unfair, or life doesn't favor us. But the Buddha taught that everything happens due to causes and conditions. Nothing comes randomly, and nothing leaves without reason. When we lose a job, when a relationship breaks, or when a door closes, who knows? Perhaps it's an opportunity for us to open a new path. Those who don't understand blame life. Those who are wise smile and quietly learn the lesson within it. As the saying goes, when one door closes, it's because another, better one is opening. But that door only appears to those who know how to let go of anger, resentment, and blame. Think about water. When water encounters a rock, it does not contend, does not get angry. It simply flows around it. Water is soft and weak, yet nothing can stop it. The wise are similar. When facing adversity, they do not get angry, but simply smile and move through it, because they understand that anger only increases suffering. The more you resist, the more you suffer. The more you resent, the more you hurt. Only acceptance and transformation can lead to true peace. Like a lotus growing in the mud, it doesn't resent the mud. It simply blooms and diffuses its fragrance. Life is the same. There is suffering, there are mistakes, there are losses, but if we respond with a gentle heart, we can still bloom, a smile in the storm. The story of Mr. Phuc is a very relatable example. He was an office worker at a large company. For 10 years, he dedicated himself, working diligently, believing that hard work would be recognized. But one day, the company downsized, and he was on the list of those laid off. A sense of injustice, disappointment, and anger overwhelmed him. He was angry at his boss, his colleagues, and even fate. In the following days, he didn't want to leave the house, just sat silently, complaining that there was no justice in this life. One morning, he accidentally opened his phone and saw a Dharma talk video by a monk discussing impermanence. The monk said, "Nothing in life lasts forever. When the causes and conditions are sufficient, things come together. When the causes and conditions cease, things fall apart. If you cling to what has already dissolved, you only burn your own heart." He didn't understand it at first, but then those words kept echoing in his head. That night, he sat thinking for a long time. He realized that a job is also like a karmic connection. When the connection is sufficient, we meet. When it ends, we depart. Losing a job might be painful, but who knows? It might also be an opportunity for him to embark on a different path. After many days of reflection, he decided to let go of his anger. He began to look at himself, realizing that previously, by clinging too much to status and salary, he had forgotten the true joy of living. He used his savings to open a small coffee shop in an alley near his home. The shop had only a few wooden tables and some potted plants, but it was always filled with laughter. He no longer chased competition, no longer rushed. He learned to breathe, learned to smile at things that didn't go his way. One day, someone asked him if he regretted losing his job. He smiled kindly. "If I hadn't lost my job, I probably would never have known what peace is." Mr. Phuc's story makes us realize that loss is often an opportunity. Anger only blinds us, while calmness helps us see the way. When the heart is full of anger, we only see darkness. When the mind is at peace, we see light. A person who understands the Dharma does not fear impermanence, for impermanence is the greatest teacher. Thanks to impermanence, we learn to cherish the present, to live each moment deeply, to love while we still can. If everything lasted forever, we would never learn to appreciate it. It is precisely because life changes that we learn to let go, to grow, and to become stronger. In Buddhist teachings, everything operates according to cause and effect and dependent origination. Nothing comes without a cause. When we encounter suffering, instead of getting angry, we should look back and see what kind of karma we have sown. Sometimes it is old karma. Sometimes it is a lesson we need to learn. When we understand karma, we no longer blame others, no longer blame life, but turn inward to cultivate ourselves. The Buddha taught, "Master your mind, for mind is the forerunner of all states. If the mind is defiled, actions will be defiled. If the mind is pure, actions will be pure." Anger is a manifestation of an unpeaceful mind. When the mind is at peace, even adverse circumstances become favorable conditions. To heal anger and face things that don't go our way, we need to practice mindfulness. Every morning, sit quietly for a few minutes. Inhale deeply and exhale slowly. When the breath comes in, know you are breathing in. When the breath goes out, know you are breathing out. Just doing this, the mind will begin to settle. If during the day something goes against your wishes, instead of reacting, silently take a breath and then smile. When you pause, anger cannot flare up. If you have time, write down 3 things you are grateful for today. When the mind is directed towards gratitude, anger has no place to reside. Anger and gratitude cannot coexist. A grateful mind is a peaceful mind. In the evening, before sleeping, reflect on your day. Did anyone make you angry? If so, send them wholesome energy. Silently say in your heart, "I wish you peace." When you wish peace for others, you yourself also receive peace. Forgiveness is not because the other person deserves it, but because you deserve to rest. When the mind knows how to forgive, anger naturally dissipates. That is the practice of transformation, turning suffering into the material of love. Remember that this life is inherently impermanent. There will be things we cannot hold on to, no matter how hard we try. A person who understands the Dharma does not fight impermanence, but moves with it. When conditions are favorable, we smile. When conditions are adverse, we also smile. Because we know that all are just waves on the surface of the water. At the bottom of the lake, the water is still, our mind is the same. If we can maintain inner stillness, even if there is a storm outside, our heart remains undisturbed. A wise person does not contend or get angry because they understand that contention is loss and anger is suffering. They choose to live kindly, virtuously, because they know that is the path to lasting happiness. Some ask if letting go is escaping. The answer is no. Letting go is an act of wisdom. When we let go, it's not because we are weak, but because we are strong enough not to be drawn into the cycle of suffering. Letting go is acceptance, understanding, and opening one's heart. A person who knows how to let go is truly free. When we live with a peaceful mind, even unpleasant things become beautiful lessons. Failure teaches us humility. Loss teaches us surrender. Illness teaches us to cherish this body. And suffering teaches us compassion. Life does not come to make us suffer, but to help us awaken. Every adversity is a reminder. Return to look at your own mind. When we understand this, we will stop being angry and be grateful, even for things that don't go our way. If today your heart is restless, stop. Inhale deeply, exhale gently, and tell yourself, everything is impermanent, and I am learning to be at peace. Let go of anger. Let go of resentment. Let go of expectations. For the more you let go, the lighter your heart becomes. When we stop resisting life, life will embrace us. When we stop being angry, joy will return. When we stop wishing for everything to go our way, we will realize that peace was already within us. The Buddha taught that a person who knows how to live in harmony with impermanence has already come close to nirvana. Live lightly like a cloud, soft like water, clear like the wind. When you encounter something that doesn't go your way, smile. Because who knows, what you lose today might be what helps you grow stronger tomorrow. Let anger dissipate. Let the mind settle. Let the heart rest. For only when your heart is calm can you hear the voice of the Buddha within your heart. Some people carry anger in their hearts their entire lives. Angry at parents for words spoken years ago. Angry at siblings over a piece of land. Angry at friends over a misunderstanding. And so, years pass. Hair turns gray. Back bends. Yet the heart remains restless. It's only when illness approaches, when breath weakens, that they realize with regret that all those things they were angry about no longer hold any meaning. Only human kindness, only a compassionate heart truly remains. life is finite, and human life is not long enough to waste in useless anger and resentment. The Buddha taught that human life is impermanent, like a morning dewdrop, sparkling one moment, then vanishing into emptiness in the blink of an eye. This body is composed of the four elements. When the wind ceases to blow, the body dissolves. When the water dries up, the breath also stops. Yet, in that brief time, we spend too many years competing, blaming, and hating each other. Each time we get angry is a self-inflicted wound to our mind and body, like someone burning themselves with fear. The Buddha once taught that anger is the fire among the three poisons: greed, anger, and ignorance, burning away merits and consuming blessings. A person holding on to anger is someone imprisoning themselves in the jail of suffering. There is a very good saying in the sutras: anger is the greatest enemy of human beings. Indeed, when we are angry, our mind immediately loses clarity. Our mouth speaks harsh words. Our body performs wrong actions. Anger is the darkness that clouds wisdom, the binding rope that prevents us from seeing the true nature of all things. The more a person gets angry, the more they suffer, the further they regress from the path of enlightenment. While a person who knows how to let go, how to forgive, is someone moving closer to peace. Many people say they cannot forgive because the wound in their heart is too deep. But if we look deeper, we will see that anger does not come from the other person, but from our own mind's lack of tolerance. If there is light of compassion in the heart, the darkness of anger cannot remain. Letting go of anger is not weakness, but a manifestation of wisdom, because only by understanding that human life is finite do we know what is truly worth keeping and what should be left behind. In ancient times, there were two brothers in a riverside village named Nam and Dewey. Their parents died early, and the two brothers relied on each other as they grew up. Nam, the elder brother, endured hardships and worked hard to provide for his younger brother's education. When they became adults, their parents left them a small plot of land. But then, due to external gossip, the two brothers had a conflict. One wanted to sell, the other wanted to keep it. Heated words and misunderstandings grew, leading them to stop speaking to each other. Dewey left for another place and started a family. 10 years passed, and they never spoke. Every time his brother was mentioned, Dewey would just remain silent, his heart still harboring anger. One day, Dewey received news that his brother Nam was seriously ill, bedridden. At first, Dewey hesitated, his heart still wavering. But then one night, he heard a radio lecture about impermanence, saying that human life is like a passing breeze, and no one knows if they will meet again. Dewey suddenly burst into tears. The next morning, he quickly took a bus back to the village. When he entered the old house, he saw his brother Nam lying thin on the bed, his breath weak. Their eyes met. Neither could say a word, and tears fell naturally. Dewey knelt by the bed, held his brother's hand, and trembled as he said, "Brother, I'm sorry. We are brothers. Why be angry with each other, wasting a whole lifetime?" Nam also cried, his voice weak. He said, "I'm also at fault. I missed you so much." The two brothers embraced and cried like children in the small room. Their cries mingled with the sound of the wind, like a bell reminding them that anger only pushes people apart, while love brings them back together. After that day, Nam felt a little better. Dewey stayed to take care of him. They ate together, recounted old stories together, and sat in the yard watching the sunset over the river. Dewey recounted that for 10 years, every time he passed the river and looked towards the old house, his heart ached. He once thought he would never forgive, but finally understood that resentment does not heal wounds. It only scars the heart. And Nam said, "When I heard you were coming back, I felt like I was brought back to life. For 10 years, there wasn't a day I didn't miss you. Now, I just wish to see you, to say I'm sorry, and that's enough." That story seemed simple, but it contained the entire Buddhist truth about impermanence and forgiveness. For all the things we cling to ultimately dissipate with time. When we die, we take nothing with us but the good or bad karma we have created. Anger, resentment, and contention only increase negative karma, making our mind heavier, while forgiveness and compassion are sowing wholesome seeds for the next life. In the Dhammapada, the Buddha said, "There is no fire like anger, no crime like hatred." That teaching is like an awakening bell. A person living in anger is no different from throwing themselves into a burning fire, scorching both their mind and body, and burning away accumulated blessings. When we forgive, we are not doing a favor for others, but saving ourselves from suffering. Because when we are angry with someone, we are the first to suffer. When we resent someone, we are the first to lose sleep. Forgiveness is a gift we give to our own mind. If we look closely, we will see that life is inherently imperfect. No one lives without ever being hurt. No one goes through life without ever being angry at someone. But the difference between a suffering person and a peaceful person is how they perceive that pain. A suffering person lets anger fester. A peaceful person uses compassion to heal. A suffering person blames life. A peaceful person thanks life for giving them the opportunity to learn to let go. When we know that human life is finite, that death can come at any time, we will no longer harbor anger for long, no longer speak harsh words. We will choose silence, choose to smile, choose to send a blessing instead of complaining. Whenever anger arises, stop, take a deep breath, and then exhale slowly. Imagine anger as dark smoke in your heart, and mindful breathing as a cool breeze dispelling that smoke. Place your hand on your chest, listen to your heartbeat, and then ask, is this anger worth losing my peace? 9 times out of 10, the answer will be no. At that moment, you will feel your mind calm down and your heart lighten like a cloud. That is the practice of letting go that the Buddha taught. No need to do anything grand, just returning to your breath, returning to yourself, is already practicing. You can also write down what makes you angry, then look at it with an awakened mind. Write down, I am angry because, and then continue to write. But I understand that when we understand, anger naturally dissipates. Because the root of anger is a lack of understanding. Understanding that the other person is also suffering. That everyone makes mistakes sometimes. That you yourself have also hurt others. Then your heart will naturally soften. When the heart softens, compassion blossoms, and anger no longer has a place to reside. As night falls, take a few minutes of stillness, sit quietly, and tell yourself, life is short. I don't want to be angry with anyone anymore. I only want to live in peace, love, and gratitude. Repeating that phrase every day will gradually melt the ice in your heart. Long-held anger makes the heart cold. Letting go of anger makes the heart warm. Just a little. Letting go brings a little happiness back. And if today you are angry with someone, remember the story of the 2 brothers, Nam and Dui. They spent 10 years realizing that anger brings nothing but tears. Don't wait until a separation to realize that, because no one knows if they will meet again tomorrow. Human life is as fragile as a dandelion seed. Just a gentle breeze disperses it into emptiness. The Buddha once taught that in this world, the hardest thing is to meet. The most precious thing is to understand each other. And the rarest thing is to live in harmony with each other. So, while you can still see each other, smile. While you can still speak to each other, speak words of love. While you can still forgive, forgive. Because who knows, after just one sleep, one of us might be gone forever. At that moment, even if you wanted to be angry, there would be no one left to be angry with. Letting go of anger is not only for living peacefully today, but also a way to sow blessings for the future. A person who lives with a kind heart, a compassionate heart, will be light as a cloud when they die, because there is nothing heavy left in their heart. But a person who holds on to resentment, carrying the karma of anger, their heart is heavy as stone, difficult to transcend. That is why the Buddha taught that among all good deeds, the practice of compassion is the greatest. If each of us can stop before anger, look deeply into its nature, we will see that anger is just an illusion, like clouds drifting across the sky. Clouds come and go. No need to chase them away. They dissipate naturally. As long as our mind does not cling, does not hold on, peace will be present. Therefore, in every day of our lives, practice looking at people with eyes of compassion, speaking with kind words, thinking with a wholesome mind. Remember that life is finite, and anger is useless. When you choose to love, life becomes easier, and your smile becomes a source of light for others. One apology can resolve 10 years of misunderstanding. One embrace can heal 10 years of separation. 1 minute of a settled heart can save a lifetime of resentment. If you are listening to these words today, please pause for a moment. Think about the person you once resented, whether it's parents, spouse, children, or friends. Open your heart and send them a wish for peace. No need to meet, just generating a thought of compassion in your mind. That energy will spread. Anger will dissipate like mist before the sun, and peace will return with every breath. Life is like a white steed passing a crack, fleeting. Don't let anger and resentment cloud your beautiful days. Live like a lotus in the mud. Even if life is full of turmoil, your mind remains pure, because only by truly cherishing each moment do we truly live, not just exist. Anger is fire. Forgiveness is water. Let the water of your heart cool that fire. Live like a river, flowing through many rapids, yet remaining clear. Live like a cloud, gently letting go of all forms. At that time, even if life is full of suffering, your mind will still be at peace, your heart will still be bright, and a smile will still bloom amidst impermanence. When we close our eyes, and pass away. No one takes wealth, fame, or power with them. The only things that accompany us are our good and bad karma. If our entire life we know how to let go of anger, how to love, how to empathize, that is the lightest baggage to carry into the next life. So the wise do not get angry, practitioners do not cling, and the kind do not contend, because they understand that life is finite, but compassion is infinite. Choose to live fully in love so that every day is a peaceful day. For when the heart is free from anger, heaven and earth are clear, and our mind will see the Buddha within itself. Some pains in life do not come from others, but from within our own heart. When we cannot let go, cannot forgive. Forgiveness is not an easy thing to do. Many people say, "I forgive," but deep down, the wound still festers, the resentment still lingers. Forgiveness is not because the other person deserves it, but because we ourselves add peace. When the heart still harbors resentment, the mind still suffers, even if the other person is gone or apologizes. We still cannot sleep peacefully. Therefore, forgiveness is giving ourselves the most precious gift, the gift of peace. The Buddha once taught, "Hatred cannot extinguish hatred. Only love can extinguish hatred." That is the eternal law. That saying is not just advice, but a spiritual truth. When we hold anger in our hearts, our mind is like a burning fire. That fire not only burns the person we hate, but also burns us. The Buddha compared a person holding resentment to someone holding hot coals in their hand, wishing to throw them at others. But before throwing them, they themselves are burned. Forgiveness is putting down the coal, stopping before the fire touches our own flesh. Forgiveness is opening the door for the light of compassion to enter, for the cool breeze of joy to blow through the nooks and crannies that were once closed off by anger. In the Anguttara Nikaya, the Buddha said that a person with a compassionate mind will not be dominated by afflictions, nor controlled by anger, because they know how to look at sentient beings with eyes of understanding and love. Forgiveness begins with insight, seeing that the other person is also suffering, also deluded, also being led by karma, just like us. When we understand this, our heart naturally softens. A person who knows how to forgive is not weak, but is the strongest person, because they conquer their own ego. In Buddhism, the greatest victory is not conquering others, but conquering oneself. Try to imagine, in your heart, there is a stone. The more you resent, the more you are angry, the heavier that stone becomes. Every day you carry it, tired and suffering, without knowing that just putting it down would lighten your burden. Some people carry resentment their entire lives, like carrying a heavy stone on their shoulder, tired, but still unwilling to let go. The Buddha once told a Zen story that a person carried stones their entire life simply because they wouldn't let go, even though they could put them down at any time. Forgiveness is the act of putting that stone down, not because the other person deserves to be released, but because we ourselves deserve peace. In everyday life, how many relationships have broken? How many families have dissolved just because of a word, a look, a tiny misunderstanding? People can spend a lifetime being angry, but just 1 minute of a settled heart to understand, and everything can be healed. Forgiveness does not erase the past, but it keeps us from being imprisoned by the past. It's like opening a window to let the sunlight in. Darkness once existed, but now the room is bright. There's an everyday story that moves everyone who hears it. In a small rural area, there was an elderly woman named Six. Mrs. Six was kind and hardworking, but had a firm personality. From the day her son got married, arguments began in her home. Her daughter-in-law, Tui, a city girl, was quick-witted and spoke directly, which often displeased the old woman. She thought her daughter-in-law was rude, while Tui thought her mother-in-law was old-fashioned. Both gradually became distant. Meals grew colder. The son worked far away, leaving only the two women, one old and one young, living under the same roof, but in two different worlds. Mrs. Six often told her neighbors, "I don't understand why she speaks without respect. It makes me so angry." Tui, on the other hand, sighed to her friends, "My mother-in-law is so difficult. Everything I do gets criticized." Each had their own suffering, but neither was willing to open their heart to see the other with compassion. Everyone's ego was large, and within that ego, the fire of resentment smoldered. One afternoon, as Mrs. Six was picking vegetables, she received news that Tui had been in a traffic accident on her way home from work. She rushed to the hospital, her heart in turmoil. When she saw Tui lying motionless, blood soaking the hospital bed, her heart suddenly constricted. In that moment, all resentment vanished. Only the fear of loss remained. She held her daughter-in-law's hand, trembling as she said, "My child, please be okay. I haven't even had a chance to tell you so many things." In the days that followed, Tui regained consciousness, but was still weak. Mrs. Six stayed by the hospital bed, caring for every spoonful of porridge, every drop of water. Outsiders, looking in, were all surprised. They asked, "Why aren't you angry with your daughter-in-law anymore?" Mrs. Six just smiled, tears welling up. What's the point of anger? I forgive because I want my heart to be at peace. That simple statement contained the essence of the Buddha's teachings. Forgiveness is not because the other person deserves to be forgiven, but because we don't want to suffer anymore. When Toi recovered, the two women sat on the porch, the evening breeze blowing gently. Mrs. Six held her daughter-in-law's hand and softly said, "Do you know? Back then, I was also a daughter-in-law, and I was also scolded by my mother-in-law. I was very angry. But now I understand that sometimes just love is enough." Tui embraced her mother, crying. From then on, laughter gradually returned to the small house. Meals became warmer, and hearts became gentler. Forgiveness may not change others, but it always changes us. When we know how to let go, we open the way for wholesome energy to flow through our mind and body. Modern science also proves that people who harbor hatred often suffer from stress, insomnia, and are more prone to illness. Conversely, those who know how to forgive and let go have better immune systems and greater mental stability. But the Buddha said this over 2,000 years ago. Hatred is a chain that binds, while compassion is the key to liberation. Every time we forgive, we cut one karmic thread. Every time we understand and love, we sow a wholesome seed for the future. Some say, "I cannot forgive because they hurt me too much." But forgiveness does not mean accepting or forgetting the mistakes of others. Forgiveness is letting go of resentment in the heart, stopping the past from controlling the present. Like someone who was once stabbed, the wound will eventually heal. But if we keep picking at it, it will never close. Forgiveness is allowing the wound to rest, allowing the mind to breathe, allowing the soul to be at peace. In meditation practice, there is a method called the forgiveness breath. When inhaling, we silently chant, "I let go of resentment." When exhaling, we say, "I send loving energy." Doing this every day, the heart will gradually lighten. The face will gradually brighten. The Buddha taught that letting go of resentment lightens the heart. Letting go of anger brightens the mind. When anger subsides, wisdom manifests. An angry person cannot clearly see the truth, just as agitated water cannot reflect the moon. Only when the heart is at peace can one see everything as it truly is. There are some evenings, sitting quietly in stillness, when we can think of those who have hurt us. We send them a wish for peace, not because they need it, but because we ourselves need to be freed from the darkness in our hearts. Forgiveness is a practice not completed in one go. Sometimes it takes many years, many lifetimes. But each time we return to a compassionate heart, each time we choose understanding instead of anger, we move closer to peace. A Buddhist practitioner does not avoid suffering, but learns to look at suffering with the eyes of wisdom. When someone hurts us, ask yourself, what am I learning from this? Perhaps it's a lesson in patience, a lesson in understanding, or simply a lesson in love. Everyone who comes into our life is a teacher. Those who bring us joy teach us gratitude. Those who bring us sorrow teach us forgiveness. Both help us grow spiritually. A Zen master once said, "Forgiveness is a path that goes against instinct, but in harmony with the true mind." Human instinct is to resist, to retaliate, to want to win. But the true mind is loving, tolerant, and bright as a full moon. When we forgive, we return to ourselves, to our inherently pure nature. Anger is just a passing cloud. Compassion is the sky. When the clouds dissipate, the sky remains. Life is short. Today we are angry with someone, but who knows? Tomorrow, that person might be gone. At that time, would we have had a chance to say a word of love? Forgiveness does not make us smaller, but makes us grow in spirit. Just as bamboo stands firm in the wind, it is not weak but knows how to bend according to life's flow. Forgiveness is the flexibility of the spirit, the strength of one who understands the Dharma. If today, in your heart, there is still someone you cannot forgive, try sitting down, breathing deeply, and saying silently in your mind, "I forgive you, and I also forgive myself." Because sometimes we are angry with others simply because we cannot forgive ourselves. When we are compassionate towards ourselves, we will naturally be compassionate towards the world. Forgiveness is the first step in resolving karma. When the angry mind dissipates, karmic obstacles also lighten. Many people, after studying Buddhism, after chanting sutras and the Buddha's name, have recounted that they felt their mind become much lighter, no longer harboring resentment or hatred. That is the blessing of compassion. The Buddha taught that a person who knows how to forgive has a mind as peaceful as clear water. Even when the wind comes, it does not stir. A person who knows how to forgive is someone who has set foot on the path of enlightenment. For only when the mind is pure can we see the impermanent nature of all things. In the end, forgiveness is not something to be talked about, but something to be lived. Every time we choose love instead of anger, understanding instead of blame, letting go instead of holding on, we are practicing forgiveness. And in that moment, karma is transformed. Blessings arise, and peace naturally manifests. Someone asked, "How do I begin to forgive?"